Ready to explore the incredible world of animal adaptation? We're diving deep into how creatures have evolved these amazing ways to survive, no matter where they live or what they eat.
It's like Mother Nature gave everyone a challenge saying, figure it out if you want to survive. And wow, they really did.
Today's sources, they break it down really well. First, by where animals live their habitat, and then what they eat, their diet.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah, totally. Like you wouldn't find a fish hanging out in the middle of the desert, would you?
Not unless it had some really wild adaptations. Each environment, from those crazy hot deserts to freezing cold places, throws unique challenges at you. And animals have come up with some pretty amazing solutions to thrive.
All right, so let's break it down, starting with where animals make their homes. We've got 5 main groups. Terrestrial, those are the land lovers like us. Then there's aquatic, the swimmers who call the water home.
Right?
And then there are amphibians, pulling off that double life in both.
Right.
We can't forget about the arboreal animals ruling over the trees.
The kings and queens of the canopy.
Exactly. And lastly, we've got aerial animals soaring through the skies.
Covering all the bases.
It's incredible, right?
It really is. And within each of these habitats, you find these super specific adaptations. Take, for example, the terrestrial environment. You've got camels living in the desert, perfectly adapted to survive with hardly any water.
Camels are amazing. They're like the ultimate survivors. You know what always gets me, though? Those humps. They're not full of water like a lot of people think.
You got it. It's actually fat, which gives them energy when food is scarce.
Yeah.
And their feet, don't forget those.
Oh, yeah, those incredible padded feet.
Perfect for walking on that soft sand.
Like built-in snowshoes, but for sand.
Yeah.
Okay, from the scorching desert, let's head over to the icy Arctic. Imagine just for a second trying to survive where it's freezing and everything's covered in ice and snow.
Brutal. But that's where you find animals like the polar bear, perfectly equipped for life on ice and snow.
Those bears are incredible. And that thick fur, it's not just for looks. It's like having the best insulation, keeping them warm even when it's below freezing.
And remember those wide padded paws we talked about before?
Yeah.
Ideal for not slipping and sliding on the ice, spreading their weight across the snow. Talk about being perfectly adapted to a tough environment.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But it's not just physical stuff, right?
Yeah.
Some animals have behavioral adaptations too.
Oh, absolutely.
Like what about hibernation? To me, it always sounded like a really long nap.
Well, it's a lot more than just a long nap. Think of it as a carefully planned slowdown of the body to conserve energy during those times when food is hard to find and it's freezing outside.
Like hitting the pause button on their metabolism.
Exactly.
That's like extreme energy saving.
Right.
Man, I wish I could hibernate through the winter sometimes.
Yeah.
We've talked about land, but what about animals that live in water? They've got a whole different set of challenges, right?
For sure. Now we're talking aquatic animals. They've developed some pretty amazing features to make living in the water a breeze.
Like gills.
Exactly. Gills, for starters. They're amazing. Can you imagine? Breathing underwater, it'd totally change how we see the world.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's not just breathing, right? They've got those fins and streamlined bodies, perfect for zipping through the water.
Right. Imagine a fish with legs trying to chase something down. Not very efficient.
Talk about a slow chase. So we've got animals made for land, animals made for water, but what about the amphibians? They decided to do both.
Amphibians are fascinating. They can breathe through their skin when they're in the water and then switch to using lungs when they're on land.
It's like having a built-in snorkel that transforms. Okay, let's climb up to the treetops now. Arboreal animals, they've got their own set of skills to thrive up there.
Life in the trees is a whole different ballgame. They've usually got those strong, grippy limbs for climbing, prehensile tails to keep their balance, and some, like squirrels, can even jump crazy distances between branches.
Like their own little obstacle course. And speaking of skills, we can't forget those aerial animals soaring above us. Birds. Their wings, those hollow bones, their powerful muscles, they're built for the sky.
It's the perfect example of form-following function. Every single adaptation, even the shape of their wings and how their feathers are arranged, it all has a purpose. Helps them fly.
So far, we've mostly talked about where animals live, their habitat, but now let's get into what they eat. That's a big factor in how they adapt too. Herbivores, the plant eaters, carnivores, the meat eaters, and omnivores, a little bit of everything.
Right. Each diet comes with its own set of adaptations. Herbivores, for example. They've got those specialized teeth for grinding down all that tough plant material.
Makes sense. They can't exactly cook up their veggies to make them softer.
Exactly. And their digestive systems are much longer and more complex than a carnivore's, designed to break down cellulose. That's the tough stuff you find in plants.
Like cows. They spend most of their day just munching on grass and digesting it.
And they've got those strong, flat teeth, perfect for grinding all that plant matter. Now, on the flip side, you've got the carnivores. Totally different tools for their meals.
Razor-sharp claws and teeth, those were a must-have for catching and tearing apart prey, right?
Exactly. Carnivores are all about speed, agility, and those sharp tools. Think about lions, tigers, wolves.
Their whole bodies are designed for hunting. Their senses are super sharp. They're strong. Amazing how it all works together. And then there's us, the omnivores, eating a little bit of everything.
Right. Humans are a perfect example of omnivores. Our teeth can handle both grinding plants and tearing meat, and our stomachs can digest all sorts of different foods.
Talk about adaptable eaters. I think being able to eat such a variety of foods has definitely helped us become so successful as a species. But okay, let's move on to another cool thing about animal adaptation defense mechanisms. Out in the wild, it's all about not becoming someone else's dinner.
Absolutely. Animals have come up with some incredible ways to avoid predators. One of the coolest has to be camouflage, blending right into their surroundings.
It's like the animal kingdom's invisibility cloak. Some of them blend in so well you'd never even see them, like chameleons,
They're amazing.
changing their color to match whatever's around them, or stick insects, looking just like a twig.
Talk about the perfect disguise. It's incredible. They just disappear.
And speaking of disguises, we can't forget about mimicry. Some animals, they've evolved to look or act like other, more dangerous animals.
It's like they're faking it to avoid getting eaten. So a harmless milk snake, it might copy the bright colors of a venomous coral snake to scare off predators, even though it's totally harmless. That's pretty smart.
Right. It's all about sending the wrong message. But sometimes it's not about blending in or pretending. Sometimes it's about standing out, saying, don't even try it.
Yeah. Armor, weapons, that's a whole other level of defense.
Exactly. Think about a turtle and its shell. Good luck getting through that. Or a porcupine with all those sharp quills.
Talk about a prickly situation. It makes you wonder how anything ever catches them with all these amazing defenses.
It's a wild world out there. It's like a constant back and forth. Prey trying not to be dinner, predators trying to, eat.
A never-ending game of cat and mouse. Exactly. And that's what's led to the amazing diversity of life we see today. Every adaptation, no matter how small, it's like a little story about how that animal has figured out how to survive.
It's incredible when you really think about it. All these strategies for survival. It makes you appreciate the natural world even more, don't you think?
Absolutely. Every creature, no matter how big or small, they've all got a story about how they've adapted to survive. And understanding that, it doesn't just show us how amazing nature is. It also shows us how important it is to protect it.
So true. Learning how animals have adapted, it really opens your eyes to how connected everything is, like a giant web. And every species, every adaptation is a part of it.
Exactly. And losing just one species, it can throw everything off balance. It reminds us that we've got to protect what we have, make sure these amazing creatures can keep on adapting.
It really is a privilege to witness it, isn't it? Like watching millions of years of evolution in action. So next time you see a bird flying, a fish swimming, or even a squirrel running up a tree, take a moment. Think about what makes that possible, all those incredible adaptations.
Keep your eyes open, ask questions. Don't ever lose that sense of wonder about the world around you. There's always something new to discover about how animals have made life on Earth work. So cool.